So guys, what we're going to be working on today is the finial. The other thing we're going to be working on is the barge boards and doing all the moulding on that. But what we've got here is a lovely bit of oak, and it's just a piece of offcut we got from another job, so we've utilised that. And what we're going to do is put all of the angles on here, all the way, which we'll mark up and show you. The other thing we'll do is the pitch of the roof's got to be cut onto the top here. If you noticed, earlier the two rafters have got a bit of a gap, so what I'm going to do is put a bit of a mortise hole in here. I'm going to put a tongue in here, and then I'm going to tongue and glue it in, and I can get some secret fixings in, because the one thing I don't want to do is put fixings in the front. It'll go and blow later on down the line. I don't want that happening. So what I've done here, guys, I've marked up this finial. I've marked it 60mm and 70mm. I think looking at it on reflection, I think the 70mm will be better. So that point to that point, and then we'll cut the actual four sides of this plain timber, and you'll see what this detail will look like once we threw it through the saw. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is just find the centre.
Right guys, just finished doing the planer work on this finial that me and Tone are making. I've planed to the line all the way around here just to make sure that the spike is perfectly uniform, nice and flat. Now I'm going to sand that, and you can see that on the time lapse.
As I was saying earlier, this is the line where we've got the gap. These rafters have to be put in this place because that's where the existing ones were. We're going to create like a mortise and tenon joint here. We're going to fix a piece of oak that I made earlier. There you go, look, see how nice and tight that is. Pete's made the finial. We're going to put a bit of a mortise slot into here, so when we can actually put it inside there, and we can get a nice mechanical fixing through here.
Right guys, we're now on to our next stage, which is machining up the barge boards. This is a piece of the old barge board which we salvaged so we could get the correct detail to make sure everything's period correct. We've got this lovely southern yellow pine, but what we're going to do, we're going to send this through the table saw, get it as close as we can to that detail there, and it's going to be finished off with our smoothing plane. Right, so what me and Tony have done, we've set our saw blade to the appropriate angle to get the chamfer detail. Now what we've done is we've had this nice big chunky piece of 9x3 line around. We've screwed it to the back of our fence to give it more support when we're sending it through, because obviously we had to send it through upright so we could get the right angle.
He's been doing an awesome job of the fascia, I've got to show you. So what we're doing is, obviously we've got this mould, we've done a time lapse to see this actual mould, how it was done. We've got to make sure we then continue this mould round the piece line all through. Just got to sand this, just touch and fill that in a little bit. Pete's got a trend snappy bit kit, which is really useful. I think this is 1/2 inch, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, this is a 1/2 inch, and you also get a 3/8 one in the kit as well.
3/8 in the kit. Pete's now drilled these in, these are 1/2 inch. How do you get them out, Pete?
Best way is just with a small chisel. You want something that's nice and small. It doesn't have to be a chisel, it can be a screwdriver if you find that works better for yourself. But basically all it is, you drill, get down, and just lever it out.
Lovely. The one thing I like about the bit of kit as well, it just rounds off this edge, so it makes it easier. Look,
yeah,
you noticed there.
I've found over the years of using this, if you just go straight down, it can leave it square. Push into it. That exaggerates the chamfer, so it's a lot easier to go in.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's easier than tapping and gluing and that.
That's it.
But what we're going to be using these dowels for, when we screw this up, barge board onto the actual rafters, we want to make sure that we're actually pelleting them as well. Just a slightly better job. And then we'll use this waterproof wood glue. We've got the finial that Pete's done an awesome job on. And I know it doesn't look central, but it's absolutely spot on and it works beautifully. All we've got to do is we're just going to fill this little bit here now, so obviously no water can get down in there. We'll put a piece of oak back in here, and then we'll actually then plain fit it like this, so it's all glued in nice and tight. This is already glued in now. I don't want to put mechanical fixings through this face because I'm not keen on that on this finial. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the biscuit joint over here. The finial is going to be flush with the back like this, so basically the fascia comes flush like this. What's going to happen is we'll screw this one through first this way on the sideways, then tongue using the biscuiter individual slots, and then we'll actually then put some tongues on the other fascia, and then we'll slot and glue it all in, and then that'll then keep the whole board together. Done, if we've used the Festival biscuiter, we put a slot in here, slot in there, slot in there, and what that'll do, this will stop that barge board then from twisting away from the finial, which is really important. We don't want it sort of later on down the line it moving away for the finial look nice and even. And what we'll do now is we'll move this fence in conjunction with the finial to line it through, so the back of this comes level with the back of the finial. Cool, here we go guys. You can see these markings here, that's where I've got to put the biscuiter through, so when I push it in, it all marries. The reason we've gone there, look, we're getting in between the screws, you see, so. Now what I will do, just on these edges now, I'll get a bit of sandpaper. See what we've got. Right, come round a bit, Pete, this way. That's it, hold it there. Absolutely beautiful. Nice and flush with the underneath. It's nicely all pulled through here, so now I don't have to worry about any mechanical fixings here. I can literally glue all this together, get my fixings through here, pellet these sections here, and then I'm not worrying about this barge board then cupping and twisting, and then not keeping this nice and parallel along here. We'll fill all this, get that glued and filled. Job's a good one. We're just now going to tap in these tongues. Pete's just tapping them in. Just make sure I don't get any glue. Oh, don't you dare. There'd be a fight if there was then, I'll tell you. I hate glue on my trousers. Pete will show you, we just slightly ease the edge.
Yeah, put a bit of a chamfer on it, just make it go in a bit easier.
Yeah, let's just get some glue in there then, mate. You can see the grain is running this way, so it's key to get the pellet in and make sure the grain is running this way as well at the same time. Put loads of glue in there like that, boom. And then it's actually now lining through the grain, you see, I'll just tap it in now.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as it starts to go on a bit of a skew, you can straighten it up. You don't want to be crushing the pellet in, so. Now what I will do, I won't chisel them off now. I'll let them dry and set. I'll get my chisel and just chisel them away slightly, then finish sand them, re-prime them back up, re-undercoat them, and they'll be good as gold. You wouldn't even know they were there.
screwed up. As you saw earlier, we were fitting these pellets. The glue's now gone off and now I'm just tidying them up, getting them cut off, ready for sanding and painting. Now, a lot of people, what they like to do is use a chisel, but I always find that a lot of the time they end up splitting and going below the surface, and that just means you have to put filler in, which defeats the object of what we're trying to achieve. So what I like to do is get a nice sharp block plane, set the iron so it's just sticking out a little bit. You don't want too much on there, or else it might be splitting the pellet. Apply a bit of pressure, always go with the grain, never against. Always check it every half a dozen passes just to make sure you're not getting too close to the wood, because there is a risk if you go too low, you can end up scarring around here, and once again you're going to have to filler it, and that's just not what we're looking for. And that's lovely and smooth. Now that's ready for sanding and painting, and I'm really happy with that. That's a great finish. Nice one.
Anyway, so it's me and Pete here today. Hey again, Pete.
Well done.
So what we're going to be doing is we're now working on this. You can actually probably see from this detail here on there, that's the decorative finishing panels. Now we're going to be cutting this bottom panel here. That panel itself is going to be 225. Now the top of this, if you seem to remember, when we took the old one off, didn't have an angle on it, and the reason we're going to put an angle on this is because any water that's falling on the front face elevation, the water will just drip away, and it's really key that we do that, because if we don't, it just hold water on that top sill edge and it'll get behind and rot away like it did before. We've got a 6-degree angle on this, and what we're going to do is going to shoot the plane along here just to get this sawn edge off here. Just going to set the plane up, and then we'll get that ready, and then what we're going to do then on the back of this here, then we're going to put a groove ready for the matchboarding to go into. With an angle, I'll always put the angle away from me. And you hear that noise? That noise is what you want to hear. So what we're going to do is going to set the router up now, getting it ready to take the matchboarding on the back, because we want it to sit into a nice little groove. The whole purpose of putting this groove in is one reason only. I want this boarding to finish really nice and neat into here. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to step down 5mm like this, 5 or 7mm, that much. And what I'm going to do is just put a really small thin groove. Bottom plinth on here now. You can actually see how that groove now is lined up beautifully there, just temporary, just to show what's going to go on. You can see that detail hopefully there. We're going to put a groove on the underneath here, because you can imagine the water hitting this face is going to come down, and if we don't put some kind of groove here, water will hit this and then drip away. Whereas if we didn't do that, the water would then backtrack on itself and bleed onto the back of the matchboard, and is what we don't want. We're getting this set up ready now here to obviously put the uprights in either side here, and then put the bottom rail in. Over here you'll see that we started to coat all these up, pellet hold them, getting them all ready to go. That's the little notching for the ridge. There's a nice little detail there. This is the bottom board, decorative board. So we're getting this all prepped and ready to go on. But it's really key you get the paint work done, because it's just a nicer job. It takes a little bit longer, but it's all come together now. Really pleased with this. Give it another coat of Zinsa, and then obviously another coat of undercoat, and then we're away.